CBS 46 News presents Public Affairs on Peach.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Public Affairs on Peach. I'm Bobby Capel. 3 shootings in 3 cities have sparked raw emotions and protests from coast to coast. This week on Public Affairs on Peach, we look beyond the headlines and talk with both law enforcement advocates and the leader of Greater Atlanta's Black Lives Matter movement. We start with our guest, Vincent Hill, CBS 46 law enforcement analyst, and Sir Major Page, leader of the Greater Atlanta Black Lives Matter chapter. Before we begin, I want to give some setup to this story. Let's begin in Baton Rouge, because that's where the fatal shooting of Alton Sterling by 2 white police officers sparked this entire thing. They were responding to a report of a man with a gun. Video showed police holding Sterling to the ground when he was shot. We want to ask both of our panelists what they thought when they saw that video. Welcome to both of you. Let's start with Sir Major. What was your reaction?
I was outraged just as anyone, but I already knew the defense that law enforcement were going to use, and so, the video speaks for itself. It's an injustice, and we demand justice for that family and also with the other case as well.
What was your take?
Well, the video doesn't speak for itself because, as you said before this conversation started, you're an actor. You get to do takes. You get to yell cut. Police have a split-second decision to determine whether they're going to go home or not. So the fact is, we can say that Alton was on the ground. The fact is, police recovered a handgun from his pocket. I can show you 5 ways from Sunday how I can shoot you with a gun in my pocket. So just because he was on the ground doesn't necessarily mean he was not a threat at that exact second where those officers perceived an imminent threat.
When we saw the second video, I saw the first one, the original one that was released. And I said, because I also have a background in private security and fugitive recovery, which is the same thing as bounty hunter, and I have 8 certifications, okay?
Is that police, though?
So, sir, it's the same credible threat that we go through.
But is that
it doesn't matter. We've seen
Did you go to a police academy for 6 months?
Let me know when I can talk.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we've seen security officers get shot right here in Georgia, right? And so police officers, we understand that they go to a greater threat, but private security, it's the same thing. Right now, you're a private investigator. That's private. You're not public.
Okay.
So you would be in the same situations. My point is this: when we saw the first video, I said there's probably a possibility he had his hand on a weapon. It's a possibility. How did they know that there was a weapon there, right? And they recovered one. We saw the second video. The second video was more damning than the first one, where we saw his hands not even near his pockets. His firearm was deep into his pockets. On that second video, we saw the officer dig into his pockets and then recover the weapon. There was let me finish.
Correct.
There was a 911 call. That's how they knew he had a weapon. Someone obviously knew him that was there, and they know he's known to carry. That's like, say, for instance, Sir Major, who happens.
Incorrect.
There was a 911 call that said he had a weapon.
That is correct.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean that
it's
someone there knew he carried. The 911 call was that he brandished the handgun at someone, which, last I checked, is a felony. It's felony assault. So when police respond, since you have security training, they cannot de-escalate deadly force with less than deadly force. They cannot do that. So the fact is that he was not physically restrained, meaning i.e. in handcuffs. I.e. in handcuffs. That's not physically restrained. That is not physically restrained. Look the law up. Look the law up. Physically restrained is in handcuffs. The minute you're in handcuffs, the fight is over. The minute you're in handcuffs, the fight is over. Now, if it was a case of he was handcuffed, they shot him, absolutely wrong. But to take a 20-second video with people that in this country have no idea what the use of force is. Here is the video, by the way,
so people can judge for themselves, at least for right now. I want to broaden this out off the specifics of this specific video for one moment. Respond to each other in that each side in this debate, which you can see, it's a very fiery debate right now. It's happening all across the country, not only here in Georgia and not only in the South. Respond to the concerns that someone might have when they see that. Let's start with Vince. When they see that, they might think, boy, this has happened again.
Well,
how does law enforcement handle that?
Okay, here's how we respond to that. There's not a police officer in this country right now that doesn't know when they step out of their vehicle, there's 5 or 6 people with these. But 99.9% of the officers in this country are doing what they're supposed to do legally by the use of force continuum, which all of these people that are protesting have no idea what that is.
Where do you get your numbers from?
Hold on. They have no idea what the use of force continuum is, which says I start with verbal commands, which means if that doesn't work, we go to hit. Here, if the suspect goes here, we go here, up to including deadly force. Now, if we want to talk about numbers, let's look at the numbers. In 2014, hold on, more whites were killed by by police than blacks. Over a decade, over 1,000 whites were killed by police than blacks. I mean, for Michael Brown, I can give you the name Dylan Taylor, an unarmed white teen in Salt Lake City killed by white police officers because the threat was he had a gun. For Alton Sterling, I can give you Dylan Noble, who was killed a week before Alton Sterling because the perceived threat of those officers was that he had a gun. For Samuel Du Bois in Cincinnati, I can give you Zachary Hammond, who was shot in his vehicle as the officers perceived the threat that he was trying to run them over. So we can preach that it's racially biased all we want. The fact is no one understands the dangers, the jobs, the law of police officers.
True enough.
Let me take this another way for you. When you hear law enforcement and the law enforcement community say, if we feel threatened in a certain situation, that's when these things happen, and then they're on videotape. How do you respond to them as far as what would you like them to know going forward to kind of make this better and to come with some solutions? What can they do to help?
We'll talk about that, but I have to say this. This gentleman knows, and every law enforcement officer across the country knows, that there's a difference in the way they treat black men versus white people in America when they're encountering each other, right? We've seen it time and time again. I've seen YouTube videos of white people wielding knives or having a weapon and officers talking them out of putting the weapon down.
Did I not just mention white individuals killed by police?
Let me finish, because you like to cut people off. That's what you're good for.
Did I not just mention that?
So we've seen time and time again where these officers would do everything in their power not to shoot a white man. But the moment they get a call for a black subject or a black suspect, they're ready to shoot us dead. Like the Tamir Rice situation. Jesse Williams said it very well on BET. That was a drive-by. They don't give us that opportunity. They protect and preserve white lives, and they slaughter and kill black people like we're barbaric animals.
A drive-by of a kid who was seen on surveillance video.
2 seconds.
Hold on. Seen on surveillance video, pointing a gun at 3 different individuals. The fact is, we can argue
that it was a possible toy gun.
However, the officers were not told that in their dispatch. So again, the officer's perception was a gun at the scene. And I can argue all day that there's 12-year-olds that shoot people.
Did you look at the reports
there's 12-year-olds that shoot people all the time.
Did you look at the report where they said that we told him to drop the weapon?
How long do you think that takes?
That didn't even happen. That was false.
How long do you think that takes?
Let's talk about officers lying in their police reports.
All right, we'll continue this conversation after the break. We'll be right back.